Hello and welcome to Accademia di Cento. I'm Lorraine Rinaldi, your host. Today we are cooking in the Cento kitchen with Christina Pirello because Christina cooks, but the Emmy Award-winning show is now just Christina.
Yes.
That's pretty cool.
Like Cher.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
Yeah, right?
So Christina, you've had your show, you've been teaching people how to cook for almost 2 decades now?
Yes. I started when I was very, very young.
Oh, no. I saw that in the Guinness book. Something like 2-year-old cooks and
That's
shows
exactly
mom how
right.
it's done.
Yeah.
There's so much about your background that we're going to talk about as we're cooking today.
Okay.
But tell everybody, I mean, not only an Emmy Award-winning TV cook, you have 1, 2, 3, how many?
7.
7 cookbooks?
7.
And what's the latest one called?
The latest one's called I'm Mad as Hell and I'm Not Going to Eat It Anymore.
I love that. Just kind of like that movie, I'm mad as hell,
Yes.
I'm not going to take it.
Well, it's funny because that movie was in the 70s and he stuck his head out the window and he said, we don't have air we can breathe, water we can drink, or food that's fit to eat. And that was in the 70s.
Whoa.
So here we are,
40 years
past
later.
2000, 40 years later, and we're still saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Right. So for us, for what we do, for what I do, it's really all about teaching people about the quality of the food they eat.
Okay. So we're going to talk quality today.
Yes, we are.
And you're cooking up what?
I am making a spicy white bean pate, which may not be a pate when we're done.
Okay, we'll figure out why that is. But pate, basically, you serve as an appetizer?
Yeah, pretty much. It's like, basically when usually people make pates, they're made out of meat, and so they look like cat food on toast.
Right.
But a pate is just anything creamy or pureed.
Okay.
Right. But so we're going to start with whole ingredients and then decide, which is always what I do. Like I'm cooking and I think, well, this dish is supposed to be this, but it really looks good like this, so I leave it.
So it may not become pate.
Right.
That would be the end result.
But that's kind of like, to me, like that's like the epitome of how Italians cook.
Sure.
It's like we sort of start with the thing, we open the fridge, oh, I don't have that, but I have that. And no matter what you do, if you have olive oil, garlic, salt, and pepper, you know what I mean?
You have basics.
Yeah, and everything comes out great as long as the quality of your ingredients. My mother used to call it materia prima, and if it wasn't
Materia?
Yep, materia. If it wasn't the best quality, you could build the Eiffel Tower out of chives. It's still going to taste,
right.
Right. But if it's really good, you could just put it in a pan and you're done.
Okay. So
really simple.
Let's get cooking.
Okay, so we're going to take some extra virgin olive oil.
Alrighty.
And put this in the pan to saute, but I always start with my pan at room temperature.
Okay.
Right, because when you use extra virgin olive oil, there's several reasons that you use it. One is the antioxidants, the anti-aging properties, the antifungal properties, all of the cardiovascular benefits that we credit to olive oil come when the olive oil is extra virgin.
Okay.
And extra virgin olive oil, unlike what you're hearing all over the internet, there's all these things, you can't cook with it, it's nonsense. You can cook it to almost 400 degrees.
Oh, okay.
Right, and the average saute is about 370.
Okay.
So you can cook it, but what happens at high heat if you just have the oil in the pan is you lose the flavor.
Oh.
And if you're using extra virgin olive oil, you kind of want to taste it.
Sure, right.
So we're going to put the oil in the pan and add some minced garlic.
Okay.
You can use fresh or you can use it like this. The only challenge with using garlic in this form is that you got to be careful because you could burn it. And burnt garlic, not so nice.
Not so nice.
Right.
Doesn't caramelize but then we do like the roasted garlic, but that's the whole club.
Yeah, but this won't roast, it'll just burn. So you just have to, but when you cook, you should just cook. Like you should pay attention. You don't watch TV or, you know what I mean?
Right.
You cook. So you put your garlic in.
Cook.
Right.
I did that once. Burned everything.
It's true, you do, right? So we're going to take some artichoke hearts.
Okie doke.
Now, artichoke hearts in ancient Rome were considered to give you eternal life.
Oh.
It's not eternal, but they are rich in something called pantothenic acid, which is a huge contributor to longevity.
Okay.
So they were kind of on the right track.
All right.
Artichokes are also the richest of all vegetables in antioxidants.
How about that?
So they're not only completely sexy, but they are...
sexy artichoke.
They are. Come on, artichokes.
Really?
Think about it. Yes.
What about when you stuff them with breadcrumb?
Yes. And you eat them and your hands are all goopy and oh my gosh.
So you just put that right on top. Now I noticed you didn't.
And we're going to let the sizzle build.
Okay.
So now if you would add a pinch of salt.
Oh, I get to cook here.
Yeah. When you saute things like we're going to be doing for the next couple minutes, you want to add a pinch of salt every time you add an ingredient. Not a seasoning, just a pinch.
Okay.
Right? That does what's called building your depth of flavor.
All right, now when you're cooking and you salt something, do you lose some of the flavor? Does the salt burn off? I've heard people say that. I don't know how true that is.
Well, you're only using a pinch. What happens is the salt pretty much gets absorbed into it, so you don't really get the flavor, but the salt does what salt does, which is enhance the flavor. It also causes the food to close up. So now the juices that might be in your onions, your garlic, your artichoke hearts will sort of bleed into the pan.
Okay.
So now you're cooking in the juice of the ingredient, and every time you add a pinch, it'll allow the artichokes to taste like artichokes, the tomatoes like tomatoes.
I see, okay.
So that you don't have like one big lump of what is that.
That's interesting.
Right?
So you never want to salt it at one time, just as
Nope,
you go.
you salt as you go, especially if you're using beans. Okay, so now we're going to take some roasted peppers.
Love roasted peppers.
I love roasted peppers.
And you're going to chop these up as well?
Yep.
Now I noticed
Everything in this dish I like a little bit more finely chopped.
Okay, yeah. Well,
So that
if you're
the
going to make pate, I would
yeah,
think.
when the ingredient, and then if you decide not to, you want your ingredients to look almost like confetti.
Okay.
Right, so it's pretty. Okay, so hand me one of those dried peppers, and I'll give you some options.
Okay.
Okay, so when you have a dried pepper like this, if you want your flavor to be mild, you throw the whole pepper in.
Okay.
And then at the end, you take it out.
Okay.
And it'll be enough to kind of like
You get the
just
flavor.
Yeah, but it won't be like.
Right.
If you want it hot, we chop this guy.
Chop that baby up.
All right.
Now you're using your knife. You said this. You get this sharpened every 5 years.
About.
Does
Actually,
it-
it's been longer for this. I don't really sharpen it that much.
Wow, look at all the seeds coming out. That's where your heat is, right?
It's gonna be hot. How do you know a dish is hot enough?
I guess you smell it?
You smell it. If it smells
smell the
hot,
heat?
it's hot enough. This doesn't smell hot.
Really?
I think you should give me another one.
I think you're right.
Now, if you smell the dish and it's too hot, then you have to add something sweet. So a little white wine or a touch of honey will
Okay.
take the heat down.
Okay.
But I think we're gonna go for it. So now we're gonna take some sun-dried tomatoes that have been soaked in oil.
Okay.
And I prefer the ones soaked in oil to the dried ones, which are like shoe leather.
Okay.
Unless you buy them in Italy, in which case they're like little pieces of soft velvet that you just could stand there and eat in the market. Somehow they get here, they're like wood chips. So, but I really...
They don't travel well.
They don't travel well or something, I don't know. Maybe the sun is different in Naples, who knows? But, so I like them in
Perception
oil.
is reality.
Absolutely.
So the oil keeps them moist.
Keeps them moist, flavors them a little bit, adds richness to the dish.
So these are sun-dried, then there's
Marinated
jarred,
in oil.
marinated
Yep.
in oil.
Yep.
And you're just chopping them up pretty much the same size as everything else.
Everything's just a coarse chop. Give me another pinch of salt. The other thing that it's important to remember when you're cooking is when you are working in, you know, an area, like your cutting board, whatever, you always want to clean it in between veggies.
I see that. Now, that's funny you said that. Well, I would never think to do that with veggies. With meats, I get it, but
Everything.
why with the veggies?
Flavor.
You don't want to mix the flavors?
Yeah, it's just flavor. And, you know, it's like when you look down and your board's a mess, and then you become overwhelmed by cooking and you just can't manage it. So
Okay.
I'm very big on staying
Clean
neat.
as you go.
Neat.
Keep it
Yeah,
organized.
clean, neat. All right, so the next thing to go into this are cannellini beans, which I always say if Italians could make gelato out of cannellini beans, they would, because they're in everything.
Is an idea.
They're beautiful, they're creamy, they're soft, they're the most, they have the nicest mouthfeel of every bean that I eat.
Okay.
But new studies are showing us that one serving a week of cannellini beans, if you change nothing else about your diet, can lower your cholesterol by as much as 50 points in 6 months.
Whoa.
So in they go.
There they go.
These are diced petite tomatoes,
Okay.
which are, look at that, I mean the color. Ay,
It
ay,
is.
ay, ay, ay.
Yeah, when you said white bean pate, I'm picturing this white pate, but this is going to have a lot of colors.
No, this is beautiful. Gorgeous. Now we can season it up.
Okay.
So now give me about 4 pinches of salt and as much black pepper as floats your boat. We should chop these two. Let's chop these two.
Okay.
These are just some pitted oil cured olives.
So you took the pits out already.
Yes.
I would
Yeah.
think like right now over a plate of spaghetti might be good.
That's exactly right.
Oh boy. So this is why you said we may not end up with
It
pate.
may not end up with pate. So
What?
for me, now I just kind of raise the heat on this.
Okay.
And stir it a little bit just to kind of dry it up. If we were going to serve this straight up, then
And
Now
that's
we
it.
can
It's done.
this is
that
done.
fast.
Yep.
Wow.
I'm going to do this with a spoon because I don't want to lift the pan and dump it.
Okay.
That would be bad.
So what can I do for you?
Nothing. I'm good. Just put a little bit right in the center, and then we'll make pate.
So now, show me how we're going to make pate. Pate always sounds like such a frou-frou, you know.
Yeah.
What's up with that? I love it. No pretense with Christina.
It's a French thing, I'm just saying.
Okay.
All right, so this is just for convenience. You take it out of your skillet because your skillet's hot. You know, you don't want to have danger in the kitchen. So now we're just going to take these cooked beans and all the ingredients and go right into a food processor.
See, now I would have tried to do this into the fruit processor. It would have been all over the counter.
Yeah,
You're
you
smart.
know, having done it
why
a million
she's the
times,
pro.
having done it, we've all done it, right?
Yes.
So now you go into the food processor.
Okie doke.
And depending on what you want, like, do you want it to be really smooth? Do you want it to, you know, like...
Well, how's pate? It's supposed to be pretty smooth,
It's supposed to be smooth, but I kind of like these a little bit chunky so they have a little character.
Okay.
So we'll see how it looks. Like, that's going to be a little bit chunky. If you want it to be completely smooth, it'll be pink, and we can just go for it smooth. You
know
call
what?
it.
It's your call.
All right.
Chunky.
But we're going to serve it over sort of more traditional, which is over toast.
Right.
So you can just scoop it right out of here, right onto your little toast, and then we're going to garnish it with some fresh basil because that just...
Looks pretty.
Yeah, and there's nothing in the world like the flavor of tomatoes and basil. So this goes in, we'll put a little bit around on the plate because it just
pretty.
looks fresh, and there it is in pate form. So there's our spicy white bean pate.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. You've given us some excellent tips
Yep.
on healthy eating, which is
My job.
what you do. It's what she does. And we can find more of that in any one of your 7 books.
Yes.
Or at your website.
Yes, ChristinaCooks.com.
ChristinaCooks.com is the website. Christina is the TV show on PBS. And maybe a little bit of more expansion going with the broadcast.
Yeah, there's a few things in development.
Okay, so if you want to keep up with Christina and the things that are developing, go to ChristinaCooks.com.
Yep.
And of course, you can always find our recipes at Cento.com. Thank you so much for being on Academia
Thanks
Day
for having
Cento.
me.
Mwah. Do the Italian one. Mwah.
Of course.
Both cheeks every time. Check us out. Ciao.